All right, let's talk about handling objections. Sometimes the way we deal with objections can derail our relationship with our customers. Things can be going along great, we've got a great relationship, and the customer raises an objection, and the way we handle it actually takes our relationship offline. I ask audiences to give me examples of how they deal with typical objections. They give me examples of what they believe are sound counter-arguments. The problem is that there's very little evidence that we change people's opinions based on the soundness or correctness of a counter-argument. So let's talk about dealing with objections in a way that could actually increase likability. You see, people have a high need to feel right and understood. The way we typically deal with objections can often do the opposite. It can leave people feeling wrong and misunderstood. So we're going to discuss how to deal with objections in a way that can actually strengthen your relationship with your customer. In fact, objections might even present an opportunity to improve your relationship with your customer. All right, great. Well, let's do a bit of a review here. It's critical that we learn to recognize our own personality style and how we tend at times to impose that style on other people. And
this is gobbledygook. It would never, ever work in the real world.
I agree, Dave. Often material we cover in a seminar like this can sound like gobbledygook. Let me ask, is there some element of what we've talked about that you think may have application in your situation?
It's probably not a good idea to assume that everyone is like us and likes the same things.
Okay, that's a really good point. Could you give me an example of that, or?
Yeah, sure. We have a guy in our store that is always trying to be funny and make things light. He can't see it, but many of the customers seem, well, uncomfortable.
Okay, that's a really good point. I think that adds to our review. Thanks a lot, Dave, for sharing. I really appreciate that. This was a reenactment of an actual situation I was in a seminar. If I had handled this situation poorly, I guarantee the whole day would have come offline and been derailed. Going on the defensive in some form is our typical way of dealing with objections.
There are a couple manufacturers that are offering some big rebates right now, so I'm going to want to look into those as well.
Shania, you could do that, but I would be suspect of a company that needs to offer big rebates just to sell their product.
The counter-argue approach is reinforced every time we turn on CNN and we see two people arguing opposing views.
What is being proposed here will have a catastrophic effect on the budget. It will increase tension and reduce our competitiveness around the world.
That's a ridiculous over-exaggeration. By reducing restrictions, it'll create an influx of additional revenues and help support our global agenda.
What is truly ridiculous here is your nerve to present such a corrupt idea that has failed every time it is enacted.
The following I've never seen as it relates to a response to a counter-argument.
What is being proposed here will have a catastrophic effect on the budget. It will increase tension and reduce our competitiveness around the world.
That's a ridiculous over-exaggeration. By reducing restrictions, it'll create an influx of additional revenues and help support our global agenda.
I did not consider that. You raise a good point. I need to reconsider my position on this.
As I mentioned, what you've just seen, it's never going to happen. Okay, now I want you to listen carefully, because a better approach when dealing with an opposing view is to find some element of what the other person has said that you can agree with, and then follow with a question. Consider this. People's defenses come down when we agree, and questions enhance open-mindedness.
Before I decide, I need to look at the new line from Suzuki.
I agree Suzuki produces a good product, and I can see why you might want to consider them. I have some great information in comparing the two brands. Would you be interested in seeing that?
Sure, okay. Show me what you have.
Statements cause defensiveness, while questions cause people to think.
You're just not seeing this from my perspective, and you're being very close-minded.
I agree. I can see I'm acting this way. Let me ask, though, what do you think is the main issue here that I need to explore in more detail?
Dealing with objections is not about winning or overcoming. It's about reinforcing the feeling that you're working towards a common goal. Research that was conducted by Arizona State found that the number 2 factor that creates likability is that we like people that we think are cooperating with us towards a common goal. The agree and ask approach enhances that. The approach I'm suggesting takes a great deal of reprogramming in order to become instinctive. But I guarantee it'll have a profound effect on your ability to influence others. So you just, for a while, just to get it reprogrammed, you got to think, agree and ask, agree and ask, agree and ask. It gets drilled into your head. So in summary, our instinctive approach to dealing with objections is to counter-argue. Creating a feeling of cooperation is the number 2 factor in likability, and in the future, try the agree and ask approach.